Search and Rescue
Meanwhile, in the House of Representatives, an ad hoc committee is to investigate the award of pipeline surveillance contracts by the Nigerian Ajib Oil Company in Bayelsa State to ascertain the beneficiaries of the contract awards and their impact on the oil-producing communities and the country as a whole. The motion was presented by Representative Frederick Agbedi and supported by all lawmakers from Bayelsa State.
Also notes that as a result of pipeline vandalism in the Niger Delta region, and upon the subsequent implementation of the Presidential Amnesty Program, it was agreed that pipeline surveillance contracts be awarded to the host communities to foster development of the communities and empower the people. Concerned that rather than award the pipeline surveillance contracts to the host communities, the Nigerian Ajib Oil Company now in Bayelsa State has awarded the contracts to some favored allies, and that has resulted in several conflicts in the respective communities as the youths feel marginalized and have on several occasions expressed their grievances through violent protests, sometimes clashing with security operatives attached to the contractors, resulting in loss of lives and property. Also concerned that unless this abnormality is corrected and the respective host communities are carried along, the issue of pipeline surveillance contracts by the Nigeria Ajib Oil Company now will continue to brew violence in the state.
Nigerian Ajib Oil Company, (NAOC), should suspend all such existing contracts in Bayelsa State, pending the outcome of these investigations.
The House, in plenary, also considered a motion on the dangers of pilots flying under the influence of alcohol and psychoactive substances, and urged the Nigerian Civil Aviation Authority to routinely subject members of crew and pilots to various tests before and after flights.
Also note that flying as a pilot or members of crew require the highest level of sobriety and clear-headedness. The use of alcohol or psychoactive substances therefore endanger the lives of passengers on board an airplane. The House resolved: 1. To call on the Nigerian Civil Aviation Authority to routinely subject members of crew and pilot to various tests before and after flight to determine their fitness or otherwise to fly. Number 2, also to call on the airways operatives to diligently ensure that only sober pilot members of crew are allowed to fly their planes, and this diligence should also extend to the initial period of employment.
At the committee level, the House Committee on Treaties, Protocols and Agreements commenced a public hearing on a bill for an act to provide for enforcement and punishment of crimes against humanity, war crimes, genocide, and for other related offenses. In his opening remarks, the chairman of the committee said that there was a need for the country to domesticate international conventions and treaties through legislation of the National Assembly in order to give effect to those laws.
It is a common knowledge that the implementation of treaties and agreements in any domestic jurisdiction is a matter of the priority to which the state in question attaches to such law, which warrants the measure it takes to ensure compliance and enforceability. The validity of treaties, protocols, and agreements within the Nigerian legal system is determined by the Nigerian law, that is, recognition of treaties and agreements by the Nigerian legal system as expressed in its domestic legislation. Equally, freedom of action by states, both domestically and internationally, is circumscribed by the obligation which they have freely assumed through the acts of agreements and treaty making.
Okay, let him get us those documents.
The House of Representatives Committee investigating the over 6 trillion naira oil revenue leakages and the activities of the Department of Petroleum Resources continued its hearing this week. The Ad-Hoc committee is engaging oil companies invited to explain their lack of payment of outstanding royalties to the DPR. The panel gave 2 companies, ND Western Oil Limited and Shoreline Energy Limited, 48 hours to show that they have paid combined outstanding royalties of $48 million. It also resolved to summon the managing directors of Sterling Global and Sterling Explorations, respectively, over alleged sharp practices and evasion of royalty payment to government, despite operating at the upstream sector of the oil industry.
So, what do you make of the issues tackled by lawmakers this week? Do you agree with the decisions taken? Let's hear from you. You can reach us through any of the addresses on the screen. I look forward to receiving your contributions. Thanks for staying with me. This is where I take my leave. I'm Lanre Lasese. Take care.